Hello, class. Good day. So I welcome you to the last. This is going to be the last video for this course, conflict resolution, and the topic that we'll be looking in this last module 10, will be first world countries and conflict resolution. We'll be looking at different examples of first world countries. What first world country are? So it is important to also know that during the course of teaching these courses, will be able to justify different topics under conflict resolution, be it for by trying to separate cause and peace themselves, and bringing them together to know the types of conflicts, types of peace, and different theories that we can use when we are analyzing conflicts and peace or conflict resolution as a whole. We've also looked at different impacts and roles of international organizations in conflict resolutions, and also examples of different countries that has been in one conflict or the other. So this implies that we've been able to justify this course to appreciable extent. So, and by the end of this course, we are expecting them to be able to say one or two when we are talking about conflict resolution, analyzing the meaning of conflicts, and all explain deeply about different players or involvers when we are talking about conflict. Recent one where we have the likes of most Russia and Ukraine, Israel and Palestine and the likes. Now this is module 10, and the topic that we'll be looking at is first world countries in conflict resolution. That is, we'll be looking at first world countries, the role of first world countries in conflict resolution generally, and the module of the contents. We have first world countries. Will be telling us what we mean by first world countries and give us different examples, so we can introduce ourselves to the term first world countries. What does it mean when we hear first world countries outside or in the course of any course? Maybe not to this course, might be any other course. What does first world countries mean? So we also look at core first world countries that are almost universally agreed and accepted. Also look at often included very high deployment or sometimes debated due to history of size. So we also look at the role of first world countries in international conflicts, and also roles of major first world powers in international conflict resolution, with the cases of the United States, France, Germany, and Russia and the likes. So let's look at for the introduction. We have in the previous module, which is module 9, we've been able to explore the we've been able to explore the conflict dynamics and analysis. So here in this module, we'll be looking at the role of first world countries in conflict resolution. And first world country is an older informal term that originally referred to the wealthy industrialized nations that aligned with the United States and Western Europe during the Cold War. They are mostly referred to as we can also call them developed countries, because some scholars refer to them as developed countries. They are those that are believed to be wealthy industrialized nation that aligned with the United States and Western Europe during the Cold War. This term is now used more loosely to describe countries with high levels of economic development. That was why I said they are developed countries economically, politically, socially, even financially and the likes. So they not only economic development, but stable democratic institution, that's politically, strong rule of law constitutionally, advanced infrastructure, and technologically, and high capital income and good human development indicators, which under the human development indicators we have like something like life expectancy, education, health, social amenities and the likes, etc. Let's look at what we mean by first world countries. Now, first world country is a Cold War era term. Cold War era term. This term was mainly used during the Cold War. We can easily say that this term originates from the Cold War, that originally referred to countries which aligned with United States and NATO. So that is countries that believe in capitalist, democratic, and generally wealthy, as opposed to Second World, where Soviets aligned communist countries, and Third World, non-aligned, usually poorer nations. So today, the term first world is largely outdated and considered somewhat imprecise or even pejorative, but it is still commonly used colloquially to mean developed, high income, stable democracies with advanced economies and high standards of living. These are generally the same countries that rank as high income economies with very high human development index (HDI) scores according to the UN. Not only according to the UN but also the World Bank and IMF. Typical examples include of these first world countries include United States of America, we have Canada, most Western European states, e.g. we have the likes of Germany, France, UK, Japan, Australia and New Zealand, and we have them as much as possible. So before we dive more into the main content by looking at the role of first world countries in international conflicts, so it's important to just bring to ourselves that this term was introduced during the Cold War to address as a term that is originally used to address countries that align with United States and NATO as a whole. But however, we can't have first world countries. We should be asking ourselves that who is now the world countries are the second country and the third world countries. We also have second world country and the third world countries, as we have said here. So the second world country are Soviet aligned communist countries. So and they are mostly referred to as developing country. I've said initially that the first world country are referred to as are also called developed countries, where we have the second world country to be developing countries. Though their economics is fine and doing great, they are out there, they are trying. So these are examples of developing countries, where we have the likes of Brazil and the like. So now we also have third world countries, where we have Africa countries as a whole, and they can also be called underdeveloped countries. So these are the three terms or terminology that are used to classify different countries across the world. Let's look at core first world countries that are almost universally agreed. Examples, so the countries that are first world that are generally and globally agreed. We have United States to be the number one, definitely. We have Canada, we have United Kingdom, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, we have Netherlands, we have Belgium, Switzerland, Austria, Sweden, Norway, we have Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Ireland, we have Luxembourg, Australia, we have New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, and the likes. We also have China and the likes. So now let's look at the often included. The ones that are often included. The previous one that we mentioned are the ones that are generally accepted. So you have the often included, very high development, but sometimes debated due to history or science. These are countries that they are also developed, but sometimes it requires debates. It is being debated. We have Israel, Taiwan, we have Hong Kong, we have Qatar, we have United Arab Emirates, we have Kuwait, we have Bahrain, where we have economically and developmentally equivalent politically complex status. We have Bahrain, where we have extremely high GDP per capita due to oil but smaller democracies. We have Cyprus, we have Malta and the likes. So now let's look at the role of first world countries in international conflict resolution. So now the first role that we're looking at is the role of first world countries, primarily already industrialized and the likes. Japan, where we have nations like the United States, Western European countries, Japan, Canada, Australia, and the likes. So their role in conflict resolution is complex, it is influential, and often controversial. So they've been able to strengthen and unique capabilities and diplomatic ways, military power, economic leverage, and soft power and technical expertise. And we also look at the historical track record, that is the successes. We have the Dayton Accords of 1995, where US-led negotiation ended Bosnia War. Good Friday Agreement in 1998, where US, by George Mitchell and European Union pressure were critical for Northern Ireland. So let's look at the role of major first world power in international relation or international conflict resolution. International relation and conflict resolution. We have United States. We can't talk about first world countries in international conflict resolution and not make mention of United States. That is very essential. So US, as the preeminent global superpower, they've been able to play a multifaceted role in international conflict resolution, often acting as both a mediator and enforcer through its vast military, economic, and diplomatic resources. So with its permanent seat on the UN Security Council and leadership in organizations like NATO, the US can rally, and it has made it very easier for them to collate, impose sanctions, and provide massive humanitarian aid or military support to influence outcomes. A prime example is the role of US and the central role of US in the ongoing Ukraine conflict since Russia invasion in 2022. So the US has taken on the mantle of primary backer for Kyiv, supplying over $100 billion in military aid, intelligence and training by 2025, while also coordinating NATO's response to deter further Russian aggression. In this capacity, Washington has facilitated diplomatic channels such as the 2023 and 2024 peace summits in Switzerland, where it pushed for Ukraine's territorial integrity and reconstruction aid, though critics argue this has prolonged the war by rejecting early ceasefires that might concede territory to Russia. Another key instance is the US brokered Abraham Accords in 2020 by normalizing the relations between Israel and several Arab states like the UAE and Bahrain. Here, the US acted as an incentivizer, offering economic deals and arms sales to participants, demonstrating its absolute power for the escalation in the Middle East. So let's also, in conclusion, we have the role of different, not only US, but we have the role of France, the role of Germany, and the likes in international conflict resolution. But we'll just be picking the US as who is the main player. So in conclusion, the role of first world countries in international conflict resolution, it remains simultaneously indispensable and deeply problematic in the sense that possessing unmatched diplomatic platforms, military reach, economic leverage, and technical expertise, nations like first world nations like United Nations, like France, like Germany, and even Russia, despite Russia's contested classification, they've been able to retain the unique capacity to convene warring parties, enforcing ceasefires, fund reconstruction, and shape global norms in ways that no other actors can replicate. Yet, history repeatedly demonstrates that these same capabilities, when driven predominantly by national security interests, geopolitical competition, energy agendas, or domestic political pressures, frequently produce incomplete, fragile, or outright counterproductive